On this week's vlog, I'm going to be talking about hallways. That's right, hallways. But first, I'm going to make some coffee. Fun fact, people misspell our last name, Holloway, hallway, all the time. But that's not the point of this video. Let's face it, hallways are kind of awkward. If you go into a house, you don't see a couch, you don't see a chair, you especially don't see a bed in a hallway. The reason why is because hallways are not meant for rest. It's a point of transportation from one door or room to the next room. It's where you walk to get from point A to point B. There is no rest in a hallway. In life and in ministry, we would call this a transition. We're going to talk about transitions in this video. But let's go ahead and transition to the next scene. Transitions can be weird as well, because the transitions are frustrating, they're lonely, and they're quiet because it feels like the voice of God is completely shut down. It's that place between two doors. It's lonely, it's aggravating because we've been plucked up where we were, but we haven't quite been planted where we're going. It's that time in our lives where we've probably graduated high school, but we don't know what college to go to, or what career, or what person to marry, what ministry to pursue. It's that transition time. It's kind of like a hallway, or a spiritual hallway of sorts. And much like an actual hallway in your home, it's a little awkward because there's no furniture there. There's no chair, there's no couch, there's definitely no bed. And the reason why is because you're not supposed to rest here. This is the place where you walk. Moses and the Israelites would have been in transition when they were leaving Egypt. They now had their past behind them, and they had this unknown future setting before them. So they come to the Red Sea, and the hands of God comes and separates and creates for them a literal hallway of water. So they begin to walk easy peasy, right? Well, that's what we all assume. But several years ago, they did sonar mapping of the ocean floor at the Red Sea, and they found that it would have had extreme hills and extreme valleys. Even at some points, there were 700-foot drops. This would not have been some simple stroll in the park for the Israelites. Their hallway would have had extremely rough terrain. One thing I know most about being in transition is it's really easy to get offended. We're easily offended in transition because it looks like people are doing better than us. They're walking through their doors before us. It looks like God's promoting everybody instead of us. And we're vulnerable because the devil speaks the loudest while in transition. The reason why he does this is because he knows that we've been uprooted from where we were, but we haven't quite been planted where we're going. So if he's ever going to get to us, it's right here where we're in this state of limbo. Jesus was actually in transition when he was going from just a carpenter to a miracle worker. So he goes on this 40-day fast, and somewhere in limbo, in transition, in the hallway, the devil comes up and begins to tempt him. And he begins to tempt him, and every single time Jesus is given the word and combats this devil during transition. Jesus doesn't get offended. He doesn't walk away. He's somewhere in limbo, but Jesus was steadfast while in the hallway. So the Bible says the devil left for another opportunity. Later on in the New Testament, Jesus goes through transition again, except this time he's going from miracle worker to Messiah. And it's at this point that the devil shows up in the form of his own brother. It was people that began to fight Jesus. And that's who we seem to deal with the most.
Many scholars have estimated that there were approximately 2.4 million Israelites leaving Pharaoh during the Exodus. This tells me there would have been a lot of pushing and shoving through that hallway of water. It also tells me that if you were to divide that number by 2, you would get 1.2 million people, and if you stacked them shoulder to shoulder wide and chest to back deep, it would have been a line that was 272 miles long and 454 miles wide. That's a big hallway that people are trying to get through all at once. Now imagine that you're at the back of this line and you get word that your brother has gone through transition on the other side of the Red Sea before you. They would have probably gotten jealous. They would have maybe gotten angry at God. They would have screamed at God and said, the Egyptians are right on my tail and they're about to catch up to me, and my brother's already gone into his destiny. Well, that's not the point. The point is to keep walking. You can't get frustrated at your brothers and sisters that look like they're going into their destiny before you.
You know, when I'm in the parking lot of Target and I'm way in the back of the parking lot and I see those doors open for another customer, I don't get offended and upset because the door's open for them. Why? Well, because they're in position. The sensor on the door saw them and opened for them. We have to be very careful in our lives that we don't get upset or jealous or even offended at God because it looks like the doors are opening for everybody else but us. It has nothing to do with popularity, spirituality. It may not have anything to do with any of those things. It may have everything to do with position. Where they are, God has brought them to the place where He's ready to plant them. And our time could be next. It may be one more step before we walk through that door. But while we're in transition and while God is silent, He may not be saying anything. But look around. I guarantee you, just like the Israelites, you'll notice that His hands are holding back things that could be crushing us in the hallway. It may be unrestful, it may be frustrating, but focus on His hands. The point is this: while we're here in this life, we're going to remain in transition. This world is not our home. This is our hallway. The ultimate door that we're going to walk through is through those pearly gates in heaven someday. The biggest question is, are we going to keep walking with Him? Moses and the Israelites.
Can't get upset when other people looks like they're going into their density. I'm George McFly. I'm your density. Come on, Back to the Future.
Moses and the Israelites would have been in extreme transition. Really? Moses and the Israelites would have been in extreme transition. I got it.